Thanks, Judy. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So hi, my name is Andrew. I am thrilled to be here, and to me, the theme of this whole set of songs is storytelling through music. Each one of these songs paints a picture or sets a scene or tells a story, and it's our duty as musicians to figure out what it's trying to say and try to communicate that through the music. So, as Judy said, the first half of the program will be sung in German, so I hope you have your translation sheets ready and you can use that to understand what the heck these songs are about, because it's wild. But we have had a great time learning these songs, deciphering their meanings, and trying to bring that to life. And so, as you listen, I hope that it can come to life in your own minds as well. And Cary will introduce our first set.
Right, so the first piece, which is a collection of 16 songs, is called Dichterliebe by Robert Schumann, which he composed during a creative surge called his Year of Song, which is the year that he married Clara Schumann. Apparently he wrote it in a week, supposedly, and it was originally 20 songs until he edited it down in publication 4 years later. The text is all by Heinrich Heine, who is a prolific German poet. It's from his work called Lyrical Intermezzo. And you'll read in the piece, and hopefully, if you don't look down at your translations, hopefully I can express some of it for you through my music. But you'll see how it's a story of love all through the speaker's eyes. So you're getting everything consistently from one narrator. And it starts out fairly positively and then kind of spirals downward into misery toward the end. I'll leave much of that, what is actually happening, in interpretation for you. Interestingly, he speaks about a woman, and we get in one line that she's blonde, and that's about all we really get about her. It's really more about his feelings. And you'll hear in this piece, if you're familiar with any art song repertoire, but not particularly familiar with Dichterliebe, you might hear a couple songs within the 16 that you're familiar with, and maybe a lot more that you're not as familiar with. And that has to do with the nature of Schumann's composition, where a lot of the pieces are not particularly excerptable by themselves. They're not intended to stand alone. They're intended to set within this particular cycle. So I suggest you listen out to ones that might be familiar and notice that those have maybe more satisfying endings, or maybe do end in some way, whereas a lot of them tend to continue on into the next one. One other thing I'd call out in terms of listening to Schumann Lieder is that Schumann really emphasizes the relationship between the voice and the piano. It's really not singer and accompanist. It's a collaborative experience, including with the melody and the emotional shifts. So I don't get to own all of those in this piece. Andrew actually has a lot of changes in his long preludes and postludes in some of these pieces, and is a character unto himself, which is really exciting to get to perform with Andrew, who is a longtime collaborator of mine.
Wunderschönen Monat Mai, als alle Knospen sprangen, da ist in meinem Herzen die Liebe aufgegangen. Im wunderschönen Monat Mai, als alle Vögel sangen, da hab ich still gestanden, mein Sehnen und Verlangen. Aus meinen Tränen sprießen viel blühende Blumen hervor, und meine Seufzer werden ein Nachtigallenchor. Und wenn du mich lieb hast, Klinchen, schenk ich dir die Blumen an. Und vor deinem Fenster so klingen das Lied der Nachtigall. Die Rose, die Lilie, die Taube, die Sonne, die liebt dich ganz allein, Liebeswohne. Ich lieb sie nicht mehr, ich liebe alleine, die Kleine, die Reine, die Feine, die eine, sie selber alle Liebe wohne. Ist Rose und Lilie und Taube und Sonne, ich liebe alleine, die Kleine, die Feine, die Reine, die eine, die eine. Wenn ich in deine Augen seh, so schwindet all mein Leid und Weh. Doch wenn ich küsse deinen Mund, so werd ich ganz und klar gesund. Wenn ich mich lehn an deine Brust, kommt's über mich wie Himmelslust. Doch wenn du sprichst, ich liebe dich, so muss ich weinen bitterlich. Ich will meine Seele tauchen in den Kelch der Lilie hinein. Die Lilie so klingen hauchen, ein Lied von der liebsten mein. Das Lied so schön und beben wie der Kuss von ihrem Mund, denn sie reiz gegeben in wunderbar süße Stund. Im Rhein, im heiligen Strome, da spiegelt sich in dem Wenn mit seinem großen Dome das große heilige Quell. Steht ein Bildnis auf goldenem Leder gemalt. In meines Lebens Wildnis hast freundlich hineingestrahlt. Es schweben Blumen und Englein unserer liebe Frau. Die Augen, die Lippen, die Wänglein, die gleichen der liebsten das Herz auch bricht. Ewig verlorenes Lieb, ewig verlorenes Lieb, ich grolle nicht, ich grolle nicht, wie du erstrahlst in Diamantenpracht, es fällt kein Strahl in deines Herzens Nacht, das weiß ich's längst. Ich grolle nicht, und wenn das Herz auch bricht, ich sah dich ja im Traume und sah die Nacht in deines Herzens Raume und sah die Schlang, die dir am Herzen fräst. Ich sah, mein Lieb, wie sehr du elend bist. Ich grolle nicht, ich grolle nicht. Und wo sind die Blumen, die Kleinen, wie sie verwunden mein Herz? Sie würden mir mehr weinen, zu heilen meinen Schmerz. Und wüssten's die Nachtigallen, wie ich so traurig und krank, sie ließen fröhliche Schalen erquicken den Gesang. Und wissen sie neu mein Wehe, die goldenen Sternelein, sie kennen mir erst ihr Höhe und sprechen Tröst mir rein. Sie alle können nicht wissen, nur einen kennt meinen Schmerz. Sie hat ja selbst zerrissen mir das Herz. Ein Flöten und Geigen, Trompeten schmetten da rein, Trompeten schmetten da rein. Da tanzt vor den Hochzeitreigen, die Herz allerliebste mein, die Herz allerliebste mein. Ist ein Klingen und Dröhnen, das ist ein Klingen und Dröhnen, ein Pauken und ein Scharmein. Dazwischen schlotzen und stöhnen, dazwischen schlotzen und stöhnen, die lieblichen Engelein. Das Liedchen klingen, das einst die Liebste sang, so will mir die Brust zerspringen von wildem Schmerzendrang. Es treibt mich ein dunkles Sehnen hinauf zur Waldeshöhe, durchlässt süß auf in Tränen mein übergroßes Weh. Ein Jüngling liebt ein Mädchen, die hat eine andere Welt. Der andere liebt eine andere und hat sie die Wiese vermählt. Das Mädchen nimmt aus Ärger der erst den besten Mann, der ihr in den Winkel laufen. Der Jüngling ist überdran. Es ist eine alte Geschichte, doch bleibt sie immer neu. Und wenn sie just passiert, dann bricht das Herz entzwei. Leuchtenden Sommermorgen geh ich im Garten herum. Es flüstern und sprachen die Blumen, ich aber wandle stumm. Es flüstern und sprachen die Blumen und schon mit Leid ich mich an. Sei unsere Schwester nicht böse, du trauriger bloßer Mann. Ich hab im Traum geweinet. Mir träumte, du lägest im Grab. Ich wachte auf und die Tränen floss noch von der Wange herab. Ich hab im Traum geweinet. Mir träumt, du verließest mich. Ich wache auf und ich weinte noch lange bitterlich. Ich hab im Traum geweinet, mir träumte, du warst mich noch gut. Ich wachte auf und noch immer strömt meine Tränenflut. Allnächtlich im Traume seh ich dich und sehe dich freundlich, freundlich grüßen und laut auf Weinen stürzt ich mich zu deinen süßen Füßen. Du siehst mich an, wehmütig dich nicht und schüttelst das blonde Käppchen. Aus deinen Augen schleichen sich die Perlentränentröpfchen. Du sagst mir heimlich ein leises Wort und gibst mir den Strauß von Zypressen. Ich wache auf und der Strauß sich fort und fort hab ich's vergessen. Winkt es hervor mit weißer Hand, das singet du erklingest und einzeln Taubeland, wo bunte Blumen blühen und holden Abendlicht und lieblich Duften glühen mit bräutlichem Gesicht. Und grüne Bäume singen urate Melodien, die Liebten heimlich klingen und Vögel schnattern rein. Nebelbilder steigen wohl aus der Erde vor und tanzen auf der Reigen und wunderlichen Chor. Und blaue Funken brennen, das Jalden glatt und Reis und rote Lichter rennen in ihren wilden Kreis. Und Leute können brechen aus wildem Marmorstein und selten auch mal weichen dort lockern wilder Stein. Ach Gott, ich dorthin kommen und dort mein Herz erfreuen und aller Qual entnommen und frei und selig sein. Ach, jenes Land der Wonne, das seh ich oft im Traum, doch kommt die Morgensonne, zerfließt es wie eitel Schaum, zerfließt wie eitel Schaum. Rosenliede, die Träume bös und arg, die las und jetzt begraben, holt einem großen stark. Hineinleg ich gar manches, doch sag ich noch nicht was. Der Sarg muss sein noch größer, wie's Heidelberger Fass, und holt eine Totenbara und Bretter fest und dick. Ach, muss sie sein noch länger, als wie zum einst die Brück, und holt mir auf 2 Fräsen, sie müssen noch stärker sein, als wie der starke Christoph im Dom zum Köln am Rhein. Die sollen den Sarg forttragen und senken ins Meeren ab. Denn solchen großen Sarge gebührt ein großes Grab. Wisst ihr, warum der Sarg voll so groß und schwer mag sein? Ich sing doch meiner Liebe und meinen Schmerz hinein. it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the mountains cast the sand. What are all these kissings worth? What are all these kissings worth? If thou kiss not me.
So now we go to our musical theater portion of the program. Back in the 19th century, they wrote art songs, and in the 20th century, they wrote staged plays with songs, with singing and music. So we're going to do 5, 6, I don't know, your program says how many. We're going to do several songs from various musicals across American musical theater in the 20th century. So for our first one, this comes from the musical The Secret Garden, written in 1991. And I'm just going to set the scene for you so you can enjoy the song. Archie, played by our friend Cary here, lives in a large mansion, stricken with grief over his dead wife Lilie, who had been an avid gardener. Archie's 10-year-old niece, who happens to bear a strong physical resemblance to Lilie, has just become an orphan. She gets sent to live at Archie's mansion, and she asks him if she can start a garden of her own.
A bit of earth. She wants a little bit of earth. She'll plant some seeds. The seeds will grow. The flowers bloom, but is there bounty what she needs? How can she chance to rob a little bit of earth she does not know? The earth is old and doesn't care if one small girl wants things to grow. She needs a friend. She needs a father, brother, sister, mother's arms. She needs to laugh. She needs to dance and learn to work her girlish charms. She needs a home. The only thing she really needs I cannot give. Instead she asks a bit of earth to make it live. She should have a pony gallop across the moor. She should have a doll's house with 100 rooms per floor. Why can't she ask for a treasure? Something that money can't buy, that won't die, when I give her the one she asks instead for some earth, a bit of earth. She wants a little bit of earth. She'll plant some seeds. The seeds will grow. The flowers bloom, their beauty just the thing she needs. She'll grow to love the tender roses, lilies fair, the iris tall. And then in fall, a bit of earth will freeze and kill them all. A bit of earth
next song. This was written by one of the most prolific songwriting teams in American theater, Rodgers and Hammerstein. And it comes from the musical Carousel, written in 1947. In this scene, the characters Billy and Julie find themselves alone together one evening. They're beginning to fall in love, but they're not yet able to directly confess their feelings to one another.
If I loved you time and again, I would try to say all I'd want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you'd go in the mist of day. Never, never to know how I loved you. If I loved you. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never to know how I loved you. If I loved you.
This next song is from Man of La Mancha, which is based on de Cervantes' famous story of Don Quixote, which is fresh in my mind for recently seeing Quixote Nuevo at Seattle Rep, which I imagine some of you may have seen as well. The book behind Man of La Mancha is a little bit different. It adapts it in a different way. It's not just the story of Don Quixote. Instead, we have a character of Cervantes who is thrown into a dungeon along with his manservant and is in danger from the other inmates, basically, and decides to put on a play telling the story of Don Quixote and enrolling some of these other prison mates in telling the story in order to fend off any danger towards himself. This song is clearly the most famous from the musical, as especially it has had to have a life of its own. The Impossible Dream, it's become a standard, and it emblemizes the fact that in this play the theme is particularly around focusing on the idealism of the Cervantes and also Don Quixote character, which you'll hear in the piece.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow brave dare not go to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man's content covered with scars still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars.
So we've heard several songs that have been considered now to be standards, and I want to tell you a little more about that. So in the first half of the 20th century, most of the popular songs in America were originally written for Broadway musicals or films. Most of these musicals we've never heard of anymore because they probably weren't very good. But as it happened, people saw the things, one or two songs became a hit, and people would continue to perform those songs as standalone songs. So this kind of happened for several decades, from the 20s to the 60s. There were a lot of these shows, a couple songs came out of them, and collectively we refer to this as the Great American Songbook. There's not an actual songbook, but kind of all the famous songs just have infused the culture of American popular music in the mid-20th century. So these are classical, standard repertoire not only for classical singers, but also for jazz musicians. And since the jazz genre was kind of coming into its maturity around the same time, jazz groups really took to these songs. Some of the reasons for that is they have relatively simple harmonies, straightforward forms, which is good to kind of mold into something else and improvise on. And most importantly, for the few songs we've done, including this next one, the ability for the song to stand on its own and not really need the context of the show in order to make any sense. And of course, the songs were good. They were popular, people liked them. So for our next song, we're going to do another prolific songwriting duo, Lerner and Lowe, written in 1956 for My Fair Lady. And in the tradition of the Great American Songbook, we'll be doing a little jazz-inspired arrangement of this one.
I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And all the towering feeling, just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that only second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's no else on earth that I would rather be. Let the bill go by, I won't care if I where you live.
This next song is moving away from an era where songs were incredibly excerptable into the works of Stephen Sondheim. One notable thing about how it takes some effort to do that is that in the show, Into the Woods, this piece, No One Is Alone, is for people. It is not a solo. It's been arranged to be such. This is happening at the end of the show when four characters are kind of coming together and reflecting on what's happened in the show. The themes from Into the Woods, if you're not familiar with it, think a lot about moral complexity, responsibility, and community in dealing and taking apart well-known fairy tales. So this is from Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim, which was from 1987.
No one here to guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one is alone. People make mistakes. Fathers, mothers, people make mistakes. Holding to their own, thinking they're alone. Another mistakes everybody makes, one another's terrible mistakes. Witches can be right, giants can be good. You decide what's right, you decide what's good. Just remember, someone is on your side, someone else is not. While you're seeing your side, maybe you forgot they are not alone. No one is alone. Hard to see the light now, just don't let it go. Things will come out right now, we can make it so. Someone is on your side, no one is alone.
And for our last song of the evening, another piece by Sondheim. Cary talked a little about Sondheim, but this show in particular, in my opinion, is noteworthy because it marks the exit from the American Songbook era. This show is Company, written in 1970, and Sondheim was very prolific. He wrote words and music to over 16 shows across his career. One of the few composers to write words and music, and they're all phenomenally good. The words just like really lock in with the music, and everything is really tight and meaningful and expressive. So Company was a kind of an interesting musical, but with it, Sondheim really kind of set a new standard for how the songs in a musical and the dialogue and the scenes can kind of intertwine and become one, rather than the older shows where you'd have a spoken scene and then the song would kind of act as a musical reinforcement alongside of it. Once we get to Company and into the 70s and 80s, that's kind of no longer a thing, and you get these kind of continuous mixings of spoken word and song. So the newer songs become a lot harder to excerpt, as Cary said, because of that. So this one is the final song from the show Company, and setting the scene here is hard, but I'm going to attempt it. So our protagonist, Bobby, is 35 years old. All of his friends are married, but Bobby is single, and he claims he's happy that way. Throughout the entirety of the show, we see a bunch of vignettes in which Bobby interacts with his married friends. He gets an up-close look at the ups and the downs of their relationships, and he even has some short-lived casual relationships of his own. But by the end of the show, Bobby realizes that maybe he's not happy being single forever.
Somebody hold me too close. Somebody hurt me too deep. Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep and make me aware of being alive, being alive. Somebody need me too much. Somebody know me too well. Somebody pull me up short and put me through hell and give me support for being alive. Make me alive. Make me alive. Make me confused. Mock me with praise. Let me be used. Vary my days. But alone is alone. Not alone. Somebody crown me with love. Somebody force me to care. Somebody let me come through. I'll always be